Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us for your mayoral candidates running in the November civic election. I'm Nigel Maxwell, senior reporter with PA Now, on behalf of the Prince Albert District Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for hosting our event tonight, and I'll be your moderator for the evening. First and foremost, should mention that we acknowledge the land which we gather is Treaty 6 territory, home of the Prince Albert Grand Council, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. This forum is being live streamed tonight to the Chamber's Facebook and YouTube pages, where viewers can enter questions for candidates. Please subscribe and like or share right now so others can watch too. Additionally, questions may be sent by text to 306-961-3333. Once again, that's 306-961-3333. And big thanks to GL Mobile for providing the text line tonight. The City of Prince Albert identifies 4 pillars on which it operates. These are: vision, Prince Albert will be an innovative, welcoming, diverse, and healthy city of opportunity. Mission, the City of Prince Albert enhances quality of life through excellence in service. Core values, entrepreneurial, partnerships, innovative, accountable, and transparent. Operational themes, collaborative, sustainable, compassionate, and exceptional. Tonight, we welcome the 3 candidates who have put their names forward to uphold these pillars as mayor of the City of Prince Albert. We welcome incumbent Greg Dion, Daryl Hickey, and Josh Morrow. Each candidate tonight will be allowed 2 minutes to introduce themselves and their focus within the city. We'll then ask a series of questions, each of which candidates will have 90 seconds or less to respond. Now, I will have a yellow card cautioning you when you have 30 seconds left. I will not interrupt you if you are in a good line or a quote. I promise not to interrupt your train of thought, but I will cut you off at your 90-second mark. And not afraid to use it tonight, gentlemen. The order of speaking will be rotating for each question. Afterwards, candidates will have 1 minute to summarize their platforms at the end of our forum. Good luck tonight, gentlemen, and thank you again for joining us. And I should mention, too, with the interest of viewers in mind, there will be no direct debate tonight between the candidates. Please feel free to ask questions online or, again, via the text line at the bottom of the screen. We ask you questions and comments be respectful, and any inappropriate content will, of course, be deleted. With that, let's get the forum started, starting with our incumbent, Greg Dion. Greg, 2 minutes.
For the last 8 years, I am asking people to re-elect me on November the 9th. I have a plan to recover from COVID-19, and the first part of the plan, it will always be the same, and that's public safety. You have to feel safe and secure in the community that you live. But the next important one is economic development. And out of all 16 cities, I believe Prince Albert is in the best seat to recover, strictly because of all the construction and new jobs that we will soon have. We've already started work in clearing the land and moving the trees for the new aquatic center and the rinks. We'll soon have the new hospital under construction. We're working hard to bring a new French school, which will be happening in the new year. And also in the forestry industry, we have 750 jobs. And so I think it's important that we keep on track. The other thing that I am very proud of over the last 8 years is all the repairs that we've done to the city. 500 roads repaved to date with the levy that we have in place. And it's a very popular levy, and councils learned not to touch it. We made the error 1 year of trying to touch it, and we got quite a whiplash back from the public because we still have a $65 million deficit when it comes to roads. So we're on the right track when it comes to roads. We have some interesting challenges ahead of us. We need a secondary sewage treatment plant, but this will not happen without a partner. We have to have the federal and provincial government step forward, and usually in most of these projects, been a third. Lately, we've been lucky. The federal government has been putting up 50-cent dollars. So I ask on November the 9th that you vote me back in to keep our plan going and growing our community and making a safer place to live. Thank you.
Mayoral candidate to our discussions tonight. He'll be joining us tonight as well. Mr. Hickey, the floor is yours, so to speak.
Okay, thank you. Well, most of you know me from being a police officer, and previous to that, during my time as a member, I worked under the Bradwell and Saskatchewan Party government. I bring that experience from both law enforcement as well as from governance, being a minister of public safety, policing, and corrections, and municipal affairs, whereby I was the one who actually signed the checks for all the municipal money and grants that went out to all the cities, towns, and villages. I was also a member of Treasury Board, so I have an innate responsibility still attached to me for budgets from the past. I feel very proud of how we worked the budgeting system in Saskatchewan. I learned a lot from the finance ministers, and I can bring that to the table. First and foremost, I have public safety as my primary pillar of my platform. For my background in policing, it makes it easy for sure to be the expert in that. That involves dealing with our homelessness and addictions issues as well. And I said it in my platform, I'll say it again, that we need to partner really effectively and quickly with our Métis organization, PA Grand Council, mental health and addictions professionals, as well as our physicians in the community who have specialized training in this field. From that, we build a better and a safer Prince Albert. And from that, we see an increase then in jobs and prosperity. We can keep your taxes as low as possible. And I also have fiscal responsibility as part of my platform. I truly believe that with a safe community, jobs will come here. I find it troublesome that we do have a situation now where we're actually paying $4 million to a Toronto and Saskatoon firm for the new Rink and Aquatic Center. That should stay in Prince Albert. Prince Albert first will always be my priority. Prince Albert safety is my number one choice and priority. Thank you.
Earl.
Good evening, Prince Albert. I've waited 1,461 days to stand here for another chance to prove that I truly want to give back and serve each and every one of you. I want you to think about this for a moment. If someone waited 4 years for the chance to take you on a date or to ask you out, would you question their commitment? My guess is no, you would not. What I hope to accomplish here tonight is to gain your confidence and assure you that I am the right candidate who will work directly for you and your families. Someone who will personally make a difference in your life and put you, your health, and your safety before anything else. You will get my undivided attention. By standing here again after another 4 years of maturing as a person, I believe that proves beyond a doubt that I am relentless and will not quit or give up on you, your families, or this city. My goal is to be a mayor for the people, no matter what color you are, whether you are a Sask Party or NDP supporter, your age, your gender, or your social status. I believe I can bring us together in a way that will make you proud. My promise to you today is clear. You are my top priority. You are the ones I will answer to, and most of all, you are the ones I will fight for each and every day. As your mayor, I will not back down from issues, and I will ensure accountability and responsibility at City Hall. I'm here to listen, I'm here to learn, and I'm here to grow with you together as a community. I will make those difficult decisions with your best interest at the front of every issue. Thank you all for giving me another chance to continue this road of service.
Thank you, Josh. Mr. Nowoselsky, thank you for joining us this evening. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Chairman, and to my fellow colleagues in the mayoralty race. I entered this race because I think PA, Prince Albert, can be so much more than it presently is. It can be a more viable, prosperous community, a more beautiful community, and a safer community. And that's what I want to strive to achieve with the help of the new council and working with the citizens of Prince Albert. I'm the senior citizen here, the healthy senior citizen. I'm the oldest of the candidates running. I have been on council for 12 years total. So I've been around in civic politics since the 70s. In fact, a few of our candidates were very infants. When I look back, we didn't have the ward system. I was the only one at the time that fought for the ward system out of our council, because the majority, you could get a high profile name and have a better chance of getting reelected because you had to run on the whole city. So for all those councillors out there having to run now in a ward, be grateful. It wasn't always that. It was very difficult. I want to see taxes kept down, both for business and for residential. People are complaining about high taxes and asking what are they getting for those taxes. We only get one street cleaning a year. We can have more. Other cities, small and big, have more and keep the city cleaner. I've used this in council and said, Roster, Melfort, Saskatoon, all have more beautiful cities and spend some reasonable dollars on flowers and making the city more beautiful. That can be achieved here. I want to see services to citizens improve, better snow removal. And I think the key thing is infrastructure has to be repaired. And prior to the push for this new recreation complex, we need to fix the wastewater treatment plant. And that's going to take $40 to $50 million, and our debt load.
Okay, Mr. Nowoselsky, thank you so much for your time. Okay, so now we begin the question part of our forum tonight. The order of questions, as I mentioned earlier, will be rotating per candidate. For the first question, Josh Morrill, you'll be answering first, followed by Daryl Hickey, Dennis Nowoselsky, and then we'll end with you, Greg. During COVID, many cities come up with ways to help their businesses survive. They created small business support programs, canceled parking fees, waived payment of building permits, delayed payment of property taxes without attestations to be signed, and canceled their property tax increases for 2020. And now in Prince Albert, we saw the city attempt to increase the commercial properties millers rate. First question tonight, what have you done, or what would you do to provide tangible support to your business community to get through COVID?
That question comes down to a lot of things. I think primarily this is the time to give, this is the time to support, and this is the time really as a community that we need to be tighter than we've ever been before. As you all know, this COVID thing has definitely taken a serious impact, not only on the young, but our seniors as well, and really everybody in between. And you know, from a standpoint of other communities and what they've done, I believe that they've done more than Prince Albert has, and I believe we could have done a better job. And in saying that, again, I think it comes down to everybody pulling in the same direction. I mean, we need to pick that objective. If we're aiming towards a goal, we really need to start becoming that community that pulls together in that same direction instead of being completely fragmented and having everybody go in their separate individual ways. And again, at the end of the day, we're way stronger as a group of people that are truly coming together for the one common cause. And that cause in this case is making sure that businesses are thriving, they're healthy, and they're able to support their family and also give back to the community when needed.
Mr. Hickey.
Thank you for the question. Well, I don't think Prince Albert did enough either. I think we could have gone a lot better prior to COVID to help our business community, for starters. We saw over the last 2 years, multiple appeals being launched by businesses because they felt that their assessed value mill rates were too high. They've won those appeals, and the city is now at the last stage to actually try to rectify that to get that $5 million plus back. When it comes to the COVID experience, I mean, we all see what happened around Prince Albert. You know, businesses had to shut down. People were leery about going back to business. One thing as a mayor, I would definitely support, and I've said it in my economic development platform, is a city first priority. When it comes to procurement for services, we look to Prince Albert first. And on top of that, we look to the officials in City Hall who have the expertise to deal with business community as well. Those same people in finance can provide that advice to the mayor and council, who would then be able to look at doing policy changes and such to make our city thrive under these conditions. One thing we have to look at too, partnering with the community better. There's experts in the community that can help us out in this field as well. And we should never just simply think that we're the smartest person in the room and come up with all the answers ourselves. Thank you.
Hello, is it working?
I believe I'm mute. There we go.
We're on.
Mr. Nowoselsky, my apologies, sir. Okay. What would you do to provide tangible support to your business community to get through COVID?
Well, one of the things the municipality doesn't have compared to provincial and federal governments is a bigger war chest for loans and borrowing. And since we've got a fair bit of debt, it's been darn hard for the city of Prince Albert. I asked citizens in the last couple of weeks, what could we have done better? And both Greg and Daryl have touched on this, is they would have liked some support maybe with some of their taxes, and a few businesses paid late and got penalized, and significant penalties for paying their taxes late. We have a lot of people that can't pay their water bills. We allowed some leniency there to the community. But the key thing is now that we're starting to reopen is to show our support to these businesses, to do everything possible to assist them to get out of it. It's a balancing act. COVID could drag on for a while yet, and it's a balancing act. But to support our local businesses, some have closed, small and big ones have already closed. So I think the key thing is show our local support to those that have given good service and appreciate them. And with this aid, give them the encouragement to hang in there. Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis. Okay, Greg.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, when the pandemic hit, there was no magic book where you went on the shelf, you turned to page 18, and it said, what do you do? And that's why the world, let alone our country and our city, have struggled with COVID, because nobody expected it, and nobody expected the side effects. Nobody expected crime would spike because of COVID. No one expected the job losses. No one expected the isolations. And so for 7 months, all levels of government have been working together to try to make things better. One thing we did do is, as a council, we deferred taxes. And we didn't do like other cities. We had 35 businesses and residents request to defer their taxes at the end of December, and they were all granted. We've deferred water charges, late charges, to the point now that we have to start collecting, otherwise we're going to be in trouble. I think the biggest thing that caught us off guard is all the areas that COVID has affected. It's affected education, sports, it's affected our whole life. And it would have been so easy if there was a book on the shelf that you went to page 18 and it told you what to do in a pandemic. I'll tell you this, the experts are writing those books today. And unfortunately, COVID is not over. But we're in a good position as a city going into 21. As a third quarter, we're carrying about a $3 million surplus for COVID, because we will be dealing with COVID, I hope, only for the first half of next year, but I'm afraid it might be long.
Okay, great. Thank you. Our second question of the night deals with taxation and salaries of staff. In multiple chamber surveys, our business community identifies how high the commercial taxes are within Prince Albert. In the Prince Albert 2019 annual report, taxation makes up 42% of the city's revenue base, approximately $39.3 million. This includes base taxes for residential, commercial, and industry, and all levies for library, civic facilities, snow management, infrastructure, and roadways. Wages and benefits make up 55% of the city's $90 million expenditures, or approximately $50 million. This includes police services, but does not include the library, as the library wages are set once the levy is determined. So based on these concerns brought to the chamber repeatedly, would you be willing to have a complete HR audit to determine whether the city is overstaffed? Additionally, what is your position on requiring city employees to live within city limits so their taxes are paid to the city? This time we'll start with you, Mr. Hickey.
Thank you, Nigel, for the question. You know what? Good point in this. In my platform, I talked about the taxation issue in Prince Albert, how businesses have been overtaxed and they've had to lead to appeals for that purpose alone. So we have to look at efficiencies. We have to find ways to spend money. I mean, I talked to my platform as well about having an overall efficiency audit of City Hall. I believe that we can do better with what we have, and people have to do more with less. I'm not talking about frontline jobs. I'm talking about management positions in City Hall. I think we have to look at that and do a hard look at the discretionary spending they have in their budgets. We have to be able to look at that and find money to help pay for other things that the city needs, in desperate need of. One thing going forward about the whole City Hall issue is that even though it's going to be close to budget time, when we do actually, the new mayor sits down, that particular efficiency audit has to be ongoing, budget after budget after budget. That's critical. Now, I do agree with the HR audit, so I'm very much in that favor. The thing about people living in Prince Albert, I agree if you're a manager, if you're a high-level director, if you're a chief of police, fire chief, those high-level positions, corporate services managers should live in Prince Albert. Other people, though, they have the freedom to live where they want. They buy goods and services in Prince Albert, and they are always going to use Prince Albert for their economic drivers for themselves. So thank you.
Mr. Nowoselsky, it's your turn.
Well, I agree with a few points of my colleagues, and I disagree with some. The biggest expense in the city is our high police salaries. And to have 47 police officers live in the rural and not be paying property taxes to the urban municipality is atrocious. I represent right now a ward that's half senior citizens, And a good chunk of the rest of the ward is service industry people making $10, $15 an hour. They're the ones paying these big salaries. And every year with increases, what's that on 120 and 130,000? It's atrocious. So we have to have people living in the city. So on that point, I'm a strong believer, and that's the future where we should be going, so that the city maximizes that extra important revenue. Yes, there should be a human resources and financial operational audit clearly done every year, and publicly everything noted if there's some discrepancies or things being done properly. And that's crucial. And there's some areas where improvements have to be made. In my last platform pamphlet that just went out today, that's one of the highlights I address. Thank you.
Mr. Dion.
First of all, we do a financial audit every year. We're under provincial regulation that we hire an independent auditor, and they audit our books every year, and including the police commission. So if there's anything out of the ordinary or not right, they flag it under risk. An HR audit, I have no issue doing an HR audit, but you better watch what you ask for, because we do compare salaries. When you look at certain other cities, and that's how unions negotiate. When the police, fire, and the rest of the unions negotiate, they look at cities our size, see what they're getting paid, seeing what their increases are, and that's when we go to mediation and arbitration, what they compare it to. They compare us to other cities. So I have no problem with any of those requests, because when you look at the other cities and us, we're more than in line with what people pay. When it comes to living in the city, we've already have a motion on our book that all our senior positions must in the future live in our city. And I think that's just the right way to do it. If you're going to take the big jobs, you better be part of the problem of feeding the tax base. And so I support senior people living in our community. If you want the big salaries, it comes with where you live, and that's within the city of PA. But when it comes to audits, I have no problem with it. We do an annual money audit now. And for an HR audit, I have no issue with that, because we do it all the time to compare our salaries. Because if you want good people,
Thank you, Greg.
you pay them what it's worth.
Mr. Morrow.
I believe for the tax base, the most critical thing we can do right now is we need to improve the health, the safety, and security of our city. And I mean, that's something that is paramount. We need to start attracting more business. We need to start attracting more professionals to Prince Albert. We absolutely must grow this tax base. That is something that's been dying to happen here for over 15 years. The population size is basically the same as it was in 1996. That has to change. We have to grow. I believe that we do need a fresh, new evaluation of spending, and we need to take the project management scope here, and we need to do it in a phased approach. We need to shrink it down to where, you know, it's not just these gigantic numbers, and there's not, you know, a stepping stone evaluation period to see where things may go wrong. Are we overspending? Is the project on task and in control? And we can nip those things basically before they become, you know, a snowball effect and costs do get out of control. And really, I think the spending is at this point needing to be evaluated, and we can do a lot better with efficiency and effective ways of managing your tax dollars. And again, we need to really do a risk analysis. Are we going to lose more people by making them live in the city of Prince Albert? Are there fantastic professionals out there that may want to live on a small acreage outside of town? Are we turning away fantastic people because they choose not to live within the city limits? I think that's a discussion that we all need to have.
Just remind you again, gentlemen, you all have 90 seconds. I will give you a warning at the 30-second mark. And again, I won't hesitate at the 90-second mark just to hold up the red flag. Don't take it personally, please. And just to keep things running smooth here tonight. And I want to remind the public again, please text your questions in. Use the chamber page there. We got the link here at the bottom provided by GL Mobile tonight. Big thanks to them again. We will have a set of questions after our about 8 or 9. We'll have open up to the public here as well. Another topic consistently identified through chamber surveys were concerns about poorly maintained storefronts and residential properties, suggesting a lack of pride in our city. The current system is a complaint-driven system, which would make one believe that if a number of complaints were received repeatedly, you should expect to see some change. Well, based on the lack of cleanup on these complaint-driven properties, it would appear that the system isn't working. Our next question, and we will be starting with you, Mr. Nowoselsky, is how do you propose we deal with the lack of pride shown on these properties?
I think the city recently made a good step by having a couple people in the bylaw office work under the director of planning. And I could see those individuals working in that department go through certain areas of the city where it is really bad, where there's a lot of properties really run down. And if they're talked to the landlords and take steps to correct them, fine, it can be done. If they don't, steps can be taken to address this. When I was elected this last term on East Hill, I walked through every street, seen every home, and we had about 35, 40 rundown properties, and bylaw looked into them. Bylaw teased me that staff spent about 3-4 months working in East Hill, but they worked with landlords and homeowners to get them corrected. And I've had stacks of citizens in my ward say how the ward has improved. And I think that can be done in a couple areas of the city where it's really negative. And that's a major start. And I think the other thing is it's up for all city employees, if they see some places that are really run down, to bring it to the city's attention. And with a concerted effort by everyone, and also beautifying their properties, PA can really shine. My line is, let's outshine Saskatoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Mr. Dion.
Well, and a very good point. And that's why council, in talking to the police commission, brought bylaw back into the planning department. We did have it for quite a few years under the police, but it was not doing what council wanted. And that was to clean up the dialect properties, deal with the landlords, the storefronts, and things. They've now moved to the planning department. They're now set up with the building inspectors, and that's where they should be. They should be with the building inspectors because that's where they get their rules and regulations from. So I'm very excited about how the new bylaw unit will work. And that was also one of our responsibilities, to bring it in line with other bylaw officers. Under the police, they were paid over the $100,000 mark. The police did make some concessions to us to hold the line. But when we did an HR comparison, the highest bylaw officer we could find was for $65,000. So that's quite a difference. So we have 3 new bylaw officers that are going to be hired, and we'll be working with the planning department. And they're going to be their priority, is going to be what council wants. And council wants to deal with these landlords and the dialect properties around the city. And we want to be proactive. We don't want to be complaint driven. So I think we're on the right track by re-evaluating and redeploying bylaw. And I'm really excited what the future will bring.
Thank you, Greg. Mr. Morrow.
I believe that the main street coming through our city needs to be the cleanest and the absolute most appealing possible. At this point, I don't believe it is, and that's something that needs to improve. And I would love to be a part of that and to encourage and incentivize that. Secondly, there's no reason for all these derelict properties to be up. I mean, I've got extensive experience in that. Within 2 years, if I was elected to office, those derelict properties would come down, and that has to be within a partnership between the homeowner and within the city. And there's a ton of things that a person can do, and we really have to start thinking outside the box. And again, we have to work together to get these things accomplished. And I see it, it's not a challenge. It's just those relationships have to be nurtured, and there has to be commitment from both parties to get those houses off the street and to make sure that those communities aren't affected in a negative way, where the neighbors are at a reduced property value level because of these homes. And it's not a hard solution. It's not a hard fix. And that's something that absolutely can be done. But also we have to be very careful that we're not hammering down on certain people, such as seniors, that might not have the financial ability. So that's, again, where we must have those relationships where we can, one size will not fit all, and we really have to open our minds to understand the situation, and at the end of the day, just get the job done, and that common goal has to be achieved. And there's a lot of different ways to get about that.
Thank you, Josh. Okay, Mr. Hickey, we wrap up with you.
Great. Thank you. Well, I have corporate knowledge in this field because when I was in the police force, bylaw initially went to the city of Prince Albert. And after a number of months, and maybe even more than a year, it was brought back to the police for a reason. The models around Western Canada had bylaw reporting under police because there was a safety issue involved with bylaw members. And this way you get a separation of state from the actual police. Police shouldn't take orders, and bylaw people are in fact sworn members. They should not take direction from City Hall. They should work under the umbrella of police. However, they should be working in concert with fire and the city building inspections as well, because these three components work together to actually look at ways to, look at these derelict properties, look at properties that are run down, people are still living in them. If there's safety hazards, and this is a problem with some landlords, they fail to take the action to make their properties safe for their residents and the inhabitants, seniors or not. It doesn't matter. These places have to be safe. This is where fire plays a role as well. We can expand their utilization through bylaw. And this is an important role because this separates everything from City Hall, so no one can be targeted. This will be just still driven by complaints, but through proactive approaches as well.
Thank you, Daryl. Our next question deals with the promotion of Prince Albert as a business destination. Based on a current review of our community, it is felt that our community only offers opportunities for growth if you're opening a retail outlet, and most recently, that would appear to be box stores. Our next question, what is your plan to create opportunities for businesses that have 5 to 15 employees that are not retail related? Greg, we'll start with you, followed by Dennis and Daryl, and with Josh.
Well, I'm very pleased to talk about this because that's what's going to drive us. And there's a difference in between. If you notice, when we talk about retail, we talk about jobs. When we announced the 750 new jobs that will be created shortly in the forestry industry, especially now that the province election is over, they can get back to work to get the what we need approved to move ahead. These 750 jobs, I call them careers. You're going to be able to buy a new house, a new car, upgrade your apartment. And those are the kinds of jobs that we're finally trying to attract. And I believe that this new plant that's opening is going to be a catalyst to really opening up our forestry industry. And those are the jobs we need. We need high-paying jobs so people can afford some of the luxuries that they've been missing out on. And we're going to continue to work hard in all fields. You certainly do need the retail jobs. Those are the starter jobs for our students and people that want part-time. So there is a need for them. You can't write them off. There is a value to them because some people only want to work part-time, and our young people have to start off. So I'm really excited about our future. I do believe we're turning the corner. We have all these construction jobs that are soon going to come on. The new hospital, as I mentioned before, the new arena, the new aquatic center. You think of it, we're the third largest city in the province and we don't own our own indoor pool. That's incredible. When you look at little places like Melfort, look at the facility they have. And there's no reason we can't have a better facility, and we will. And we will be attracting people to our city to come to this because our new aquatic center will be a major attraction.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, Dennis.
Well, I think the key is what the Chamber is presently doing is promoting the business community through their membership and advising when new businesses start. So the Chamber I see as having a significant role here. I also see the city doing their part in every aspect to promote new businesses. I know many times at council, when I've seen a new small business open, we give it publicity at council. And I know the Chamber, through its awards program, Samuel McLeod Awards Program, has picked on an award for new businesses. And I've been at many events where some small business I didn't even know existed in PA got acknowledged. And I've nominated some that have won. And they would say, I'm just a wee little cafe and coffee shop, and I don't think I was a big business and deserve this. And I worked hard with my staff, and now I'm recognized. And they were just overjoyed. So I think there's all these small steps that are important. But I think the overriding big one is keep our taxes as reasonable as possible, a little lower, definitely, and provide services to our citizens that they're happy to be living here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Daryl.
Thank you, Nigel. Well, I talked about it in my economic development platform that we need to have a strong economic development office at City Hall. We need to empower those staff to go out of the way, to think outside the box, to ensure that we have the proper policies, the proper incentives for every kind of business to come to Prince Albert, small and large alike. But I will say this, small businesses generate more revenue for cities than big box stores do because they have their products in PA, people shop local, support local. That drives local economies. And one thing I won't do as a mayor is stand back and make announcements for things that aren't actually made by the principals involved, because we've heard before announcements that were touted by the mayor and they never came in 2018, 2019. So let's just let the principals make the announcements if they want to come to PA. Let the city council and mayor provide policy and direction to the economic development people to ensure that we get that driver to come here. Let's have them remove all the red tape, because when I was in government, we had a red tape review committee, and that got rid of a lot of the issues that businesses told us were impeding their growth and development. That's what I want to do in Prince Albert as well. Let the business community tell us what they need. Let people come to City Hall and get the incentives they need to start businesses and expand as well through a series of tax credits and promotional opportunities and further abatements. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Josh.
I don't think it's any surprise that safety and security is paramount. That's the number one factor here, I think, affecting younger families moving to Prince Albert. You don't want to open the page and see all these horrific crime statistics. That has to change. That must change. When that does change, I believe this place will start flourishing. And this also falls in step with a few other things. We're going to have a family first approach at City Hall. It will be welcoming, it'll be encouraging, and it'll be empowering. I think that will attract young entrepreneurial type people from all over the province, if not Western Canada. Come be a part of our city. Everyone's going to love what we're doing here. I think it's going to be a fantastic place to be, and we're going to make this an exciting city again. I really believe that. This recreation complex, this is such a polarizing issue, but I don't think people understand the amount of civic pride that will come from that development. It's going to be fantastic. I know from a young family myself, they can't wait for that stuff. I mean, there's no better community builder than to have things like that available for your wife and for your children. And again, what a perfect reason to bring everybody together and have something that we can all be proud of. Also, just quickly, we need an emphasis on education and retaining and recruiting personnel. That's a key factor, and we really need to start looking harder at retaining and recruiting the people that we want to bring to our city. They're going to help us grow and help grow the tax base.
Thank you, Josh. Gentlemen, I'm going to take one more question, and then we're going to take just a short 90-second break, give you a chance to stretch your legs. The Chamber has heard from numerous entrepreneurs of the processes to start a new business or even to bring their existing businesses to compliance, drag them down with contradictory instructions between city departments, causing them to waste precious time and money. One even complained, they told us, they were not made aware of an available tax abatement and could not have applied it retroactively, thereby missing out. It has been suggested that our city follow an example set by the City of Saskatoon in 2017, where it reviewed the complete building permit situation with their Home Construction Association and Chamber to develop a streamlined, business-friendly process. Our question, would you be willing to have the City of Prince Albert follow this example? And if not, what will you do to make it easy for businesses to navigate the requirements of City Hall? Dennis, we'll start with you this time.
I'm always game for looking at if something works good in another jurisdiction or another city, grab it and take a good look at it. And if it's great, use it. We used one recently in North Battleford where they had a environmental one for safety with the motion lights, and worked with a business representative so citizens could buy motion lights at cost. And it went over really well in North Battleford. So applying that to building permits, if something's working great in Saskatoon or Regina, Moose Jaw, wherever, Melford, let's go with it. So yeah, it's just being creative, and we should always, as elected officials, have our ears and eyes open to what's being done well in other jurisdictions and putting them into practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Daryl.
Thank you. I missed most of that question for some reason. Things broke down for a communication level, but I've already said already, it's about empowering economic development in City Hall, having those people have every advantage to bring business here. Go out there and attract it. Go get them, bring it here. We'll champion that cause through policy development. Tax abatements, to be sure, are important, plus tax credits that need to be applied for people who will hire individuals from the marginalized community to support those people. Give them a hand out is wrong. Give them a hand up is what you want to do, because these people want to work. They take pride in work, and that's important. One thing about the current regime in City Hall is that I do believe, because one citizen told me he owns a business, he wasn't aware that there was a tax abatement. When he put his business license in, that should be the first thing that comes to mind from the economic development and business people in City Hall. All a list of things that they can actually apply for and are entitled to. And our city employees in economic development will be standalone placeholder with their own director who will report to the chamber and business community and mayor and council to ensure we have the right policies moving forward. That's critical if we're going to make our city more attractive to bring business here and to retain business. If you want to expand as well, we have to give you every opportunity to expand your business with the same kind of incentives. And that'll bring more business, again, lower our tax base as well. Thank you.
Mr. Morrow, we'll have you answer the question next.
Thanks, Nigel. The number one deterrent, in my opinion, is when we have a dysfunctional council. And if people can see that it's not performing correctly and there's so much division and divisiveness, that is completely contaminated and people will be deterred by that. And that's the one thing that we absolutely must fix. That has to be run properly, run correctly. Everybody has to be on a different culture change, I believe, where we have to encourage, we have to be receptive, we have to make coming into City Hall should be one of the most enjoyable experiences for the citizens of the city. Or if you are planning or looking to move to Prince Albert or interested in investing in Prince Albert, City Hall needs to be that type of environment. And again, if we don't change the culture within City Hall and within council, I think we are going to have another 4 years of a lot of difficulty. I think the citizens of Prince Albert are tired of it. I think they want to see things run in a much more professional way. And I believe that everybody else surrounding Prince Albert is going to be, looking at that in the same way. So if we can fix those things, we can clean things up. We can get a very professional, well-oiled machine going in City Hall. I think that will make a huge difference, and the people of Prince Albert are really going to notice the benefits when that is accomplished.
Thank you, Josh. Mr. Dion.
It's an interesting topic because I believe you can always do better. You hear the few negatives, but I also hear the positives. Save On Foods opened 11 stores in Saskatchewan. The president said at his opening remarks that this was the easiest and fastest city to deal with a development permit and getting construction underway. The same was echoed by the University of Saskatchewan. Same was just echoed to a small business that just opened in the Sherwood Drive Mall. Is there some that slipped through the cracks? Absolutely. But when you talk about incentives, this council, and I give them credit, has incentives in almost every area. We have 4 or 5 for building new homes. We have 4 or 5 for businesses. I'll give you an example. Look at the developer that's working with PV Mart on 15. It was working with council that finally brought that deal here. 5-year tax exemption really helped them. And then when we got together and improved the traffic lights that they needed for that business to open, that clinched the deal. So every deal is different. It would be nice to have everyone says a cookie cutter platform, but every deal is different. Some people want this and some people want that. So you have to be balanced. And the key is you have to listen to hear what that new business wants.
Thank you, Greg. So, gentlemen, as I mentioned, we're going to take a quick 90-second break to stretch your legs, grab a glass of water. Back in 90 seconds. gentlemen, and thank you everybody for your engagement tonight for our Chamber of Commerce Mayoral Forum. Lots and lots of questions coming in, and we're going to try and get to those after our first set of questions. And you name the topic, they've been asking it. So thank you to everybody who's been texting the phone line. Again, thank you to GL Mobile for making sure it's been running awesome. So next question, gentlemen, a familiar issue in Prince Albert of late, crime. Crime Severity Index is coming out on Thursday. We're expecting some comments from our Police Chief, John Bergen, as well in the next couple of days. Based on the 2020 McLean report, Prince Albert was listed as the 4th most dangerous place to live per capita in Canada. This is in spite of the fact that often petty theft goes unreported because many residents realize that the cost of the police to investigate, plus the almost zero likelihood of recovering their property, doesn't make it worthwhile, they feel. Residents have identified that violent crime and property theft is allowed to occur due to a lack of preventive police presence within neighborhoods. Again, you're all aware of what we've been dealing with this year in our city. Mr. Hickey, we're going to start with you, followed by Mr. Morrow, Mr. Dion, and then we'll wrap up Mr. Nowosielski. While clearly it would be cost prohibitive to replace a fully trained police officer on every corner, would you be willing to discuss a solution that hires private companies or individuals to patrol neighborhoods, acting as eyes on the ground to report suspicious activity in real time to police? Mr. Hickey.
Thank you for the question. Well, I will say this, that our police department does a great job with the existing resources they have up to a point. For the last number of years, not just myself, other members on the front line talked about the increase in gangs and violence in our city. And you know what? We had some resources from the province that we were able to switch around, but now we see this drive is that we're taking resources from units, putting them in another unit now, so we're taking off the front line. We need to tackle this problem proactively. I'm really okay with adding more officers, a small number of officers for dedicated gangs and guns unit. Had that happened years ago, like I had asked for when I was president of the Police Association, I think we'd be ahead of the curve now. We have not ever got out of the top 10 in that McLean survey. That's always bothered me when I was a member on the street, and it bothers me today. You know what? I think the issue moving forward here is that we need to look at, neighborhood watch groups, those kind of things, more eyes out the front window. We used to have that when I was in the community services section. I was a coordinator for that program. We had a lot of uptake for that. Over the years, people have looked inward to their homes. They don't want to look out their windows. They're scared to look outside. That's why public safety is so important on my platform. Engage the partnerships, engage the community. More eyes looking out than looking in. We can solve crime. Thank you. Mr. Morrow.
Thanks. Well, it's no surprise we can do better. I mean, this is at a point where really it's embarrassing, and something needs to happen dramatically and effectively and efficiently, and we need to get control of this situation now and not later. My platform had 4 key points to it. My little deputy program. As mayor, I'll be in every single school. I want to make sure that we're not letting these kids and youth fall through the cracks any longer. That is a big passion of mine, and that's something that you can expect from me. And I believe that if we can start at that level, and we can really get that community backing for our younger kids that know that, yes, we do care. And even though as mayor, you're not too busy to spend time with those kids, it's going to make a drastic difference. The neighborhood watch needs to be revitalized. Absolutely, we need the community to step up. We have thousands of able people that want to get involved to help make this community safer, and we can absolutely achieve that. Also, we need to look into drones, using drones for all types of different reasons. They're so cost effective, they're so efficient. It's something that we absolutely have to deploy. And last but not least, we absolutely have to have an ethical and professional approach to hiring. We need to hire the best people that are the most educated, the most qualified, and no longer should somebody be hired just because of who they know. They must meet the criteria, and they must be the most respected, best person that we possibly can hire anywhere around. End of story.
Mr. Morrow. Mr. Dion.
Well, it's a number one issue, and it should always be number one. You have to have a safe community. But at the same time, you have to be your eyes open. I was really pleased with Premier Moe announcing that he is going to increase spending to Prince Albert for addiction workers and for mental health workers. Crime is a wide variety. And you're right, the index is coming out on Thursday, and no doubt we will be 3rd or 4th again. We keep switching around with North Battleford, another smaller city in our area. It's just the way they do the stats. But at the end of the day, we're all into this together. We all have to be partners. We have to work together. We have to work with the Grand Council. We have to work with the Métis. We have to work with all our organizations. But we also have to encourage the public to get involved. If you see something suspicious, please don't hesitate. Pick up the phone. Any little lead will help the police because we need eyes and ears. The police can't be everywhere. When it comes to hiring more officers, I'm all over the province. And the reason I'm all over the province is for two reasons. 30% of the people we arrest do not come from the city of PA. So we're like the hospital. We're a regional police force and we should be treated like one. The other thing is they subsidize 20 officers, and I say subsidize, they pay $110,000 a year and they cost us $135,000. So they've got to step up and help us. And that's how we can hire more police officers with assistance of the province. The taxpayers of PA have the burden.
Okay. Dennis, wrap up with you.
This is one I've been actively involved with, and I think I heard Josh mention that he's going to get to all the schools. I think that's why you have a community police officer. I think the mayor's going to have his hands full doing a lot of other things, Josh, and I say this strongly. That's why we have community police officers that get out to the schools. Right now, if you used our present number of members, at around 9,500, it works out to nearly 8 to 12 officers per ward. That's probably one of the highest ratios in Canada. And that's why that debt or the servicing costs are so high. We've got to get that down. So we have money for infrastructure repair. So we have money to keep business and property taxes down. And my colleagues might disagree with me and say, well, we got to compare with other jurisdictions. With our smaller population and tax base, we can't compare with Toronto and Calgary. So we've got to do more as a total community. And I know in my area in East Hill, we watch for our neighbors. Somebody goes away for the weekend, you get your neighbors taking eyes on your house. Something happens, we get involved and we do some of our action ourselves. We don't stand by and do nothing. It's got to start at the home, new values, community groups, the schools, the churches. We got to have some respect, and that a reevaluation of society, where we're going. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. In anticipation of a lot of engagement tonight, we started open the floor earlier this week to people to submit their questions and email the Chamber of Commerce. We're going to take one of those questions from residents right now. Who doesn't feel citizens are being heard by City Council? Josh, you'll have the first answer here, followed by Greg, Dennis, and Daryl. The question is, would you be willing to take part in regularly scheduled town hall meetings hosted by the Chamber, in which the mayor and council can hear directly from residents about their concerns? Josh.
Absolutely. I think we need to do a much better job of reaching all the different pockets within the city. I think that a select few people and a select few groups have a lot of pull and sway, and I think we need to really broaden that, and we need to start getting into those areas where people feel like they're not being heard. And that's something that I've noticed on the campaign trail, is that the majority of people are saying that they are not being listened to, and they would like the chance and they'd like the option to be heard. So anything and everything that a person can do, if that is the way to go about it, which is a town hall meeting, I'm sure that there's other ways that we can build programs or incentivize people to get together and come together and draw in those groups. And again, I think this still comes back down to where, City Hall, mayor, council, everybody needs to be warming, welcoming, and receptive to all these concerns that are out there, because the general population at this point in time does not feel that they're being heard correctly or properly. And I do think that more effort needs to be made into hearing those concerns of those individuals.
Thank you, Josh. Yes, Mr. Dion.
It's me? Okay, thank you. I'm willing to expand on our program. We already have town hall meetings. I'm really proud of this council in the last year, 8 years. We've had ward meetings in every ward every year. We've had zone meetings. We've asked them for input in our surveys when it comes to what they want to see in recreation, and that's why we're building an aquatic center. It was #1 picked by the population of PA, #1. And we responded to that. We have regular, as I mentioned, town hall meetings where we put up our maps, we show our plans, we ask people for their input. And I think that's what you have to do. And everyone's welcome. Anyone that has a concern can write us at City Hall, come forward and make their presentation to council, and we'll get to work and see if we can help. But at the end of the day, we're a community, and you have to listen to the community. If you don't know what's going on. You can be out there, but you still have your opinion. But you got to ask everybody else. You got to be all inclusive when you ask. You got to ask all parts of our community, because we all want something different. But I've been very pleased with the meetings that we've been having in the public. They've been well attended, and we've had lots of questions and input, and that's what's been guiding us. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Dennis, you have the floor.
We started having them on a very regular basis, and I agree with Greg on that. And then we narrowed it down, not as many, and some of the awards weren't every year. And I think it got them to have an appreciation of senior staff explaining what we were doing, as well as an opportunity to talk to individual elected leaders. So I think that's healthy to maintain. Whoever hosts it, that's not the issue. It's to have that. But I can't speak for other wards, but in mine, if I get a concern from a citizen, I'm on their doorstep. I go visit, I hear the concern, or they can come to my place. So unless, not everyone's got their problem solved. They might have an issue or complaint. I'll give you one example. A gentleman complained to me and says, why does the city have cement? So many intersections, dividing lines, and there's cement all over the place, and the extra cost on the road construction, or there's some safety guidelines that our engineers and our traffic people in planning and in public works apply. But a lot of citizens thought there's a lot of waste going on there. So it might not, the answer might not be to their satisfaction, but at least they get an explanation. We're there to listen, to respond. Not all 100% of the time it's ironed out, but I think reasonably doing not a bad job as a council, and we can always do better.
Thank you, Dennis. Daryl.
Thanks for the question. Well, let's bring up for starters that the public has told me clearly that what is really concerning to them is the way councillors treat each other at meetings and how they treat some of the public that come and actually present their causes. Very disrespectful. There's a handful of councillors that seem to have an issue with when women come and bring a point forward. That's so disrespectful, uncalled for in 2020. One thing going forward is that these town hall meetings, they have happened, to be sure, except we have to do them more engagement. We have to have the city officials there more often, and more than just maybe once in the year to one ward. I think we have to use social media better as well. That's critical, because a lot of the people I talk to really engage in social media these days. And even some seniors are still, they're on social media getting a hold of me as well. And, you know, we have to go to those people who built this city, because we stand on their shoulders. There's corporate knowledge there. We have to look at those people who built this town, have them engaged. We have to go into their communities, into their, seniors complexes, because they can't always get out to meetings as well. That's critical. I do think one thing for certain is that we have to make sure that we're more engaged. And if I was elected to be mayor, I'd have a social media platform open to anybody in Prince Albert and go see people as well whenever they want to see me. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Our next question deals with an issue that was very big during the provincial election. Of course, we're talking about Victoria Hospital. The province recently announced over $300 million for a new addition and rental of the Victoria Hospital. The local community will need to raise $30 million roughly for furnishings and equipment. Daryl, you'll have the first answer opportunity here. How do you believe the community should go about raising these funds, and which organization should lead that campaign?
Thank you for the question. Well, first and foremost, the Victoria Hospital Foundation is the primary and only entity that should be raising money for this. Nowhere, there's no place for a civic official to try to go out and raise money and then try to, say that they've raised the money to take it off the city of Prince Albert's responsibility. The entity that can do this is the foundation. They are legally bound and entitled to do such. No civic official should do this on behalf of them or speak on their behalf. So they would be the most primary first role in fulfilling that obligation. We also have to look at this hospital, like the mayor has said, it's a regional hospital. When I was in the government, we talked about this hospital development being a regional perspective. Therefore, the mayor has to go and champion and get those regional perspectives in as well from other towns and councillors to put a levy on their people to help pay for some of the facilities here. We in Prince Albert also have to take ownership of this. I always believe if you start now, you put in a little bit now versus a lot later on. And I know that with the hospital foundation staff and their professional approach at this, they will get this job done, and they will do an excellent job of doing that. The mayor needs to be the champion and needs to be there with them, but don't interfere with that business, and that's not how things should be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Mr. Nowoselsky.
I think the provincial government is so elated and happy with the results that they might even give us more money. Tongue in cheek. I just, we've got so many things on our plate as a city, especially the wastewater treatment plant and the cost for that in the future, and working that out with government, and our debt load increasing, that we're just going to, like Daryl said, the hospital foundation leads it, but that's going to be a big struggle with us, because with COVID going on yet, we're into some strain on families and finances. And as I walked around the city visiting some of the homes, people are hurting more now financially. Those have lost their jobs, those haven't got back to work full time yet. Others telling me they're working 3 part-time jobs to survive. There's a lot out there hurting in the community. So this is going to be a challenge for us. But if we do it as a community, we'll get there. But I would go back to and say, hey, Mr. Premier, we need some extra help too.
Thank you, Dennis. Mr. Dion?
It's the foundation's job to raise money for the hospital. But with that said, before we even go there, we have to find out, number one, the cost. It is not $30 million. The Saskatchewan Health Hospital Authority has not said what the cost is. Then the second thing is, who's going to pay? My argument is, well, you've already admitted it's a regional hospital, and you waived the $60 million that we were going to have to pay because we were liable for 20%. So if we're a regional hospital and we didn't have to pay that, why do we have to put a levy on to pay for the furniture? And if we do, I understand you gave us $60 million. I'm not greedy. But in the past, when we did Pineview, we had the Parkland district. So it was divided up with the RMs. Today, we don't have those regions anymore. So who's liable for the amount that has to be raised? Is it the whole North? I agree with Mr. Hickey. I've been out campaigning with all the RMs, the other towns and cities and villages in the North, because that's where the money has to come from. I believe that's the mayor's job, because I know those people by first name, and they have to participate. It's a regional hospital, so before we commit to anything, we should have the understanding from the province how much we have to raise, who's going to contribute, because it just can't be the city, it has to be the whole region. And the main question is, why are they not paying? They've already agreed that it's a regional hospital and they're going to pay. So before we jump in and agree to pay, we should get.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, Mr. Morrow, you have the last response to this question.
Just a special thank you to the Victoria Hospital Foundation. I had a great chat with them a couple of days ago, and really they're just a bunch of fantastic people who really do want to help out the community in the best way that they can. You know, with certain health issues going on in my family alone, I realize that you know, this is something that absolutely has to get done. I don't think we should really sit here and squabble and fight over it. We need to find a really creative way. If it's partnerships, if it's just, you know, increasing the safety, security, the health of our economy, so that we're able to, you know, draw from maybe 50 sponsors or 1,000 sponsors instead of, you know, the typical ones that do contribute a lot to our city. I mean, we all know who they are. I would love to see that grow. And the only way that we're going to get situations like this, where if stuff becomes, you know, an issue where we have 10 or 20 or $30 million to raise, we have a very strong economic community here in Prince Albert that's able to generate and raise money like that. And I think you just have to get back down to the basics. Is we really need to have a very healthy city in order to be able to raise money like this. And again, these partnerships must be looked after and engaged in a very productive, positive way. And again, we just need to make sure that you know, we build a case that's very strong, why we need it, what we need it for, and then we go after it and we just get it done, and we make sure that we get this thing up and running.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. All right, gentlemen, that takes us to our 9th question of the evening. Construction and maintenance of roadways that connect Prince Albert with adjacent RMs are cut off at the boundaries, creating in some situations an uncomfortable driving experience for residents and visitors, with a negative impact on businesses in the area. Our question, given the core value of partnership, what are your thoughts on negotiating agreements regarding roads, equipment sharing, and other potential benefits with our RM neighbors? Mr. Nowoselsky, we'll give you the first response.
We've always, this council and in past councils, always made attempts at that, and sometimes successful and sometimes not. So I guess you always keep striving to work partnerships you can share the load. And so that's what I see. You build those networks. How successful will be, if others in the RMs are hurting financially, it might be a struggle. But just like with higher levels of government, you're always networking, always trying to do it as a team. We all benefit from it. So we'll do our best.
Thank you, Mr. Nosself. Mr. Dion.
Well, highways is a very important thing. It's the entrance to your community, and that's what you see. We do have a very good program with the provincial government. It's called the Highway Connector Program, and they fund that. And that's for the main highways coming through our city. And I know we've already applied, and they've agreed that they're going to repair the highway by the Shellbrook overpass when you're coming in from Nordale off that highway in Shellbrook. That S is just awful. They did the other sides, but at the same time, they have the same problem as we do. There's just so much money to go around, and every other city and town and network is asking for it. So we do get our share. I'll give you an example. We did the service roads last year on the south side of the city, and that was a partnership with the province. We paid 50 cents to the dollar, they paid 50 cents. And that's how we got our service roads done. At that point, they weren't going to do any more service roads because the demand is on highways. But when we came and offered them a 50-cent deal, of course they're going to be, because that's what it was, a partnership. So they approved that, and that's going to continue on. And wherever we can improve, and that's why this levy that we have on our roads is so important. That's probably one of the most comments I get, because all those paved roads help our city look cleaner and neater. And we're painting our lines twice a year to even make them shine a little better. So asphalt is very important, but again, it's a partnership when it comes to the highway. So we're going to continue that. We've had a very successful 8 years.
Thank you, Greg. Okay. Daryl.
Thanks for the question. Well, Highway Connector Program was what I was going to raise as well. It started under Brad Wall's government. We looked at expanding highway offices as well, making them more of a regional perspective where they go out, look for the work, problem areas, come back, report, and then with the cities that actually report how to get those connector programs more efficiently as resolved. I think there's an opportunity right now with our RMs around us to look at partnerships. I mean, we do know that RMs in the city have a very heavy load on asset depreciation when it comes to the heavy equipment used for maintenance of roads and other equipment as well. I mean, there's an opportunity to have some cost sharing possibly. We have to look at every opportunity to work as partnerships. I mean, if we go out there and start, just don't talk the talk, but do it with them, we'll see other things, other spin-offs. Like the people will see that there's city people who are helping out with their connector road areas. That way we'll be there for them. They can come help us as well. It makes talks about, you know, the RMs contributing to the hospital a lot easier when you're in partnerships at the ground level. And I want to see that going forward as well. One thing that is definitely important is that we know that the government of Saskatchewan is investing multi-million dollars every year for highways. If we can partner with them as well and even do better for our connector programs, so be it for everybody. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. And Josh.
There's thousands of projects that we're doing in the city, and I believe that we just need to do a better job of that. And that's just bringing back that project management mentality. You know, once a project is initiated, we plan it correctly, we execute that project correctly, we monitor and control it, and then we close it out. And in the closeout phase, we always learn that, you know, we could have done better on certain things. Maybe we weren't as efficient as we were on certain things. Every project will get better every single time a project is completed. And right now, that's something that I think we really need to improve on is making sure that when we're spending $1 of the tax payers' money, we're getting $1.50 back in value. And right now, I believe that, you know, we might be getting 35 to 45 cents back on $1 spent. And I don't think that's fair for the residents of the city. I think that's something that absolutely needs to clean up completely once that is developed and once that is showcased in a way that we are completely spending our dollars and cents efficiently and effectively. I think a lot more partnerships will open up, and it will be a lot easier to engage with surrounding areas to develop other projects as well.
Thank you, Josh. Once again, a big thank you to everybody submitting their questions tonight. We are literally having dozens of questions being poured in on the text line. Thank you to everybody for engagement. That's what makes forums like this fun. And a big thank you to also the Prince Albert District Chamber of Commerce. They even gave me a free mug tonight. You guys don't get one, but yeah, thank you for that. So we're going to start taking some questions from residents, though. We're going to take a short 90-second break after this this following question. We'll go in the order of Daryl, Dennis, Greg, and Josh for our 10th question. It is, again, from a resident here in Prince Albert. As mayor, would you be agreeable to land swap with nonprofits in the city? Starting with Daryl.
Easy answer. Yes, I think everything has to be explored. A lot of the nonprofit groups in Prince Albert provide a real social fabric. They connect the people in this Prince Albert area who in some cases wouldn't have opportunities to have employment or even reach out to the community as well. They can provide something that the city doesn't have to provide, an opportunity for people at no cost to the city. If it's a land swap, it's equal for equal. In fact, I would even take it one step further. I believe in some cases that some nonprofits with a viable business plan should be given land for free because they're going to still employ people to support that social mechanism in town. We can't lose sight of the fact that we have an underlying responsibility to our community. We have to give those who have got less opportunities every opportunity to thrive in this community, not just simply survive. That's why, as a mayor, no idea will be brushed off to the side. If someone comes to the Economic Development Office or comes to council or comes to me as the mayor with an idea, it has to be fully vetted, fully explored as a partnership opportunity. We have to be open. We have to be honest. We have to let people have trust in us. We'll do what's right for the social fabric of this city. Thank you.
Dennis.
Situation is unique. We've had opportunities like this in the past where requests have been made. Some have been approved, some turned down. One of the more recent ones that I can think of in the last year or two, couple of years, was the Kinsman Workshop, trying to get land on East Hill at a reasonable price and do a swap with some land where they have their workshop now on 15th Avenue. And then one of the issues would be who would tear down or what would happen with their old building and would the land transfer agreement be accepted. It wasn't approved by the majority, but you've got to try be open to accommodate as much as possible the nonprofits because they're surviving on a lot less budget, and it serves a social need in the community. It reaches out to people that are getting job training, social supports, and creating jobs for the people helping them. So yeah, always be open for creative approaches to solve them. Yep, thank you.
I think that's, now I know I said that Josh would be going last, but in the interest of fairness, you had the last word, the last question. So this time we'll give you the next response, followed by Greg.
Sure. I'd be open to the discussions for sure to understand and look at certain issues. And again, I think that's quite a large spectrum of possibilities out there that could be used or could not be used. I'm personally not a fan of giving away free land. I'm personally not a fan of selling land for $1. I think that if you look at the economics of a lot of other cities throughout the world, that typically doesn't work. And we need to change our mindset into a point here where we get this economy going. We get a healthy economy in Prince Albert. We have business driving. We have a growth in the population here. We will not have to sell land for $1. We will not have to do things where we're giving land away. And I believe that that's just something that we really need to look hard at. And maybe there's some unique situations that do require a land swap, but I think it should be far and few.
Thank you, Josh. And Greg.
Well, and we haven't talked much about a land swap because, first of all, it has to make economic sense. We can't swap land and that we have that are clean, and then we have to go clean up another property. That just doesn't make sense. Also, what people have to understand about nonprofits, we waive the taxes. They don't pay any taxes. So we can't win. If they pay taxes, we could give them the land and justify it by a 5-year tax exemption that we're just getting our money back. So it is a complicated effort, but most of these organizations get provincial and federal funding, and they're available for these purchases. And at the same time, council has to be open to all kinds of looking. An example. We almost spent $800,000 putting services in, and that's the sewer, water. People have to remember that is very costly. That's in the millions. So when people ask us to give away land, we're just not giving away land. We're giving away tax dollars money that we've already invested into that land. And I don't want to make a profit at it, but at the same time, it's got to make reasonable sense to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, at this time, we'll take another 90-second break. Gentlemen, get a sip of water. Be back in a moment with more questions from our residents. Welcome back, gentlemen. I've been tabulating all the questions. We're going to do 3 more from our city residents, then again give you a chance to have closing remarks, 1 minute each at the end. So our first question, and it will go to Mr. Morrow to start off with. We've heard a lot of talk about the back alley bylaw in Prince Albert. Would any candidates consider rescinding the back alley bylaw? Josh, what are your thoughts?
I think it's fantastic. I think it's working. I've heard from a lot of residents that it's effective. It will run its course. I think that does need to be looked at when the final numbers come in, whether that's the 6-month or a year term, to actually evaluate it completely and realize that it is completely effective or it is not effective. But at this point, I'm completely in support of it. I find it a slim chance on removing it. And the statistics are going to tell us how good it was and how well it worked. So would I be open to it if it's completely swayed in one way or the other? Absolutely. I mean, the statistics won't lie. The ultimate goal is providing that extra safety and security for the residents, especially in the back alley. And that just has to be, we have to try anything possible to get things under control. And I mean, the more ideas and the more options, the better. And I really believe that this is the time that we need to start, expanding our options here and getting this place under control.
Thank you, Josh. Mr. Hickey.
Thanks for the question. Well, I was very adamant when this first came into place that this is not the effective way to prevent crime in our community. In fact, it brings up issues of carding from down east. You'll find that no other city in Canada actually does this. Then this is for a reason, because it subjugates those people walking in a back alley to be, for lack of a better term, targeted by police. We know right now in the city, we've seen our property crime increase in the last little while. So these bylaws aren't effective. We can't have an officer there all the time. And I wish we could, but we can't. I'm a strong advocate for providing tax incentives to homeowners who put in state-of-the-art security systems, who buy those systems with cameras and monitoring and lights as well, motion lights. And if those systems go off at nighttime, if they have property crime, the city police will have access to that to help identify the individuals that do this as well. And those same people can have a tax break because of that. They're actually helping to prevent crime by having those lighting systems in play. One thing that we have to look at as well, I've talked about already, the issue of carding. I do think and believe that this particular bylaw is ineffective. I think it opens up possibilities of officers being deemed as racist, and they're not, simply because they're being told they're targeting certain people when they're not. Officers would love to be down every back alley. I did that when I was on patrol, but I couldn't be down every back alley every night. The call volume's too high. It's just impossible. Thank you.
Mr. Nowosielski, you're the third response.
Yes, I was on council and I supported the back alley bylaw. A lot of seniors and a lot of folks, not just seniors, felt more security when there could be people at all hours crawling in the back alley. They could then be stopped and asked, do you live in this area? They felt better about it. And with some of the petty crime that has increased in Prince Albert, a lot of it due to alcohol and drug addiction, the reception by the public has been positive. If stats a year from now say things haven't changed, it can be reviewed like we're going to do. So I think all in all, I guess this is one key point where Darrell and I disagree.
Thank you. Mr. Dion, we'll give you the last response on this question.
Well, I'm the second one. I supported the back alley, and the carding issue is just nothing but smoke and mirrors. If the police want to card you, they're going to do it before you get to the back alley. We don't have those kind of police officers. If we had a race problem in our police department, we would be on it, and we don't. And I've heard from all kinds of people since we put it in, and just the other day, some First Nations people come up to me and said, thank you for doing it. And I said, well, wasn't that an issue for you? No, people made it an issue. You tried to make our city safer. We agree, back alleys were never designed for pedestrians. Why do we have sidewalks? We don't have sidewalks in back alleys. We don't have lights. We don't have crosswalks, because that's what the street is designed for. And if you see the new neighborhoods that are built in every city, just not ours, there's no more back alleys, because they discovered back alleys are an issue. So they don't build back alleys unless they have to connect to other older areas. But it was never an issue about carding. It was one or two of our councillors that brought it up as an issue which was not there. It was about public safety. And if you're lawfully have the right to be in that back alley, go to it. If you have garages or walk in there, you're more than welcome. We just want to make it a safer place for you to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Our next question has to do with the poverty situation in Prince Albert. The question is, does or should the city have a leading role to play in bringing the homeless crisis under control, or is it a provincial problem? Our first response will go to you, Mr. Hickey.
Thanks for the question. I've already said numerous times in the campaign already that we need to work with our partnership groups in Prince Albert. The provincial government has money allocated to us for mental health and addictions already. We have physicians in the city who specialize in addictions as well. We have community-based organizations. We have the Métis organization. We have the PA Grand Council who have expertise in dealing with homelessness as well. And you know what? Who would I be as a mayor to not engage those people? I need to learn from those people working the front lines, day-to-day, YWCA, Homeward Bound. This is critical for us. You know what? One thing under this in the city for the last number of years, we've seen a decrease in outreach, and we need to see more outreach programs. I also believe that we have a Made in PA solution just waiting. When I engage with community-based organizations in town and healthcare professionals, everybody says to a person that we have the opportunity to do this at home here. And I am not going to always be demanding money from the premier at all. I've already been there and done that, worked in that world. Tiring, to say the least, when that happens time and time again. Show initiative, show your own solutions, develop your partnerships. I am not the smartest guy in the room when it comes to this issue. I want those who work the front lines to provide advice to me in council. So I'd have my own special mayor council for this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald. Mr. Morrow, we'll go to you next on this question.
Well, a lot of the reason why I'm doing this is because I love the people of the city, and I believe that we can do a lot better. And I strongly believe that always looking for somebody else to save us or somebody else to fix our options is something we need to leave behind at this point. And yes, we can develop our own solutions, and we can develop our own ways to, create more success or options for success and less options for failure. So would I love to get involved in this in a large capacity? Of course. Would I love to be the person that goes out there and puts the team together that needs to be established in order to get some results for us? 100%. But again, this really comes back down to, reaching out to everybody in a very positive way and get that community spirit back where, if somebody does fall down, let's try to lift them back up. And I think, too often we're just kind of walking by at this point and people are caring less. And I think we need people to care more. And there's a lot of issues out there. There's a lot of people struggling. And I think, as mayor, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, my heart and compassion is in the right place. And I believe we can do more for these people. And I don't believe that just saying, we need to just sit here, twiddle our thumbs and do nothing is the right option here.
Thank you, Josh. Greg, we'll go to you next.
Well, I'm pleased. I'm going to echo the announcement that we just made. First, I want to thank our city manager, Jim Choi, and Greg Guttenberg, our planning developer. They worked with Brian Hull from Riverbank Development and Donna Brooks from the Y. And the homeless shelter will be opening soon on the exhibition grounds. I got to thank the exhibition for allowing it to go there. And it started, it was going to be open 12 hours. I'm pleased to say now it's going to be open 18. We were trying to get it open 24, but because of COVID, we have to close for 6 hours for cleaning. It's going to be a unique shelter. We've added showers, washers, and dryers so that they have a place to clean up and do their laundry. It's unique in that area. And that's a perfect example of how partnerships work together. And you're right, every level of government has to be involved. Every community organization has to be involved. We have to lean to the government. Both, even though you keep saying we cry, well, we're going to keep crying strictly because COVID has really brought the homeless issue both to Saskatoon, North Battleford, and Prince Albert. And so the three communities have been talking on how we can all fix the best practice to solve this. And I've got to congratulate those two organizations because our homeless shelter will soon be open and we'll be able to get lots of those people that are on the street the care that they need, because we're also going to have mental health and addiction workers at the location to help them. So we're going to try to cure the problem as well. So congratulations to those groups.
And Dennis, we wrap up with you.
Yes, our community has a lot of different organizations that a lot of citizens sometimes don't know about that can help deal with the poverty issue. And one of them is the Community Service Center. And it has some programs to help people with redirection for work and work placement and employment and counseling and support while they enter this journey, or some with disabilities. And I talked to a number in my ward that said they looked back many years ago, and the people that gave them a hand up was the staff at the Community Service Center, which also handles transportation for seniors. That organization does lots of quality work, and like I say, very appreciated nonprofit in our community. Greg touched on the women's shelter. Well, we got lots of community housing and a lot of housing programs, a few new ones coming up to help people, support them on their journey to get out of poverty so they can live in comfortable accommodations. And we have the church community. A lot of churches do outreach and help. So there's a strong spiritual community. We have the AA Al-Anon community, which is still strong in Prince Albert. We have the food bank, on and on. We've got a lot of resources here. And it's just to keep a lot of people that are new sometimes don't know what's all here. And part of our role is to guide them in the right direction and be there to support them.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Gentlemen, we have one last question from residents. Honestly, if we answer them all tonight, we would have been here till like 3 a.m. So just giving you a little bit of break, we picked some random questions, and I apologize to anybody who didn't get their questions answered tonight. Big thanks again for your engagement, and we'll save an interesting one for last year. We'll go in the order of Dennis, Josh, Daryl, and we'll wrap up with our incumbent. The question is, what community involvement pre-election do you think you bring to the table that would make you a valuable mayor to the community? Dennis, we'll start with you.
I'm a 71-year-old senior that's lived in Prince Albert since 1975. So that's what, 45 years. In that time, I've been involved in my community club. I've coached community sports. I've been involved on the hospital board, many community organizations, the Community Service Center board, and as elected official branched out into many others, and also been involved with the church community. So I've been involved, it's been part of my life, I guess, public service in all aspects. So I bring that experience, and it's helped me network both professionally, personally, and in public service in all three aspects.
Thank you, Dennis. Josh, your comment on this question.
The friendships and partnerships that we need to improve on are our First Nation, our Métis, our youth, our seniors, and as I can speak for myself, a young family man. And I guess the nice part about this, or I feel that I really resonate with a lot of the citizens because I do have a young family. I'm kind of in the middle of the spectrum. I can relate very, very well to the seniors, and I can relate very, very well to the youth. And you all got to see that last election. I won the youth vote in the schools, and that was one of my biggest accomplishments. It still to this day, it's one of the proudest things that I can say. I will win it again this year. I'm going to go hard and make sure that I'm back in the schools and making sure that I win that for the second term in a row. And by bringing everybody together and getting just a more energetic, vibrant community spirit, you know, whether you're a senior or whether you're a youth or whether you're, you know, your social status is a little bit less than others. At this point, I think everybody just needs to get together, and we really need to get excited about our city, get excited about our community. COVID has been terribly hard, and at the end of the day, we're all looking for that sense of kind of security, compassion, and just that heartfelt community spirit that we've been lacking for a long time. So my priority moving forward, if I'm elected, I think everybody's going to see a massive family first initiative, and the people of the state will.
Okay, Mr. Hickey.
Thank you. Well, I was lucky enough to move to Prince Albert in 1975, military family background. So we settled down here when I was 9 years old. You know what? The issue for me has always been giving back to the community. I've always wanted to serve. I was lucky enough to After high school, I coached football again with the high school team at St. Mary's. I was able to coach some hockey in town as well after I finished playing. You know what? I've also I've been very fortunate with my two daughters, helping to coach not just their house league fastball teams, but their provincial fastball teams as well. Always volunteered at their volleyball tournaments and stuff as well. Anything I could do to give back, I always did. That's who I am. I have a service first mentality in giving back. I actually was on the chamber board as a volunteer in the economy committee years ago before I ran for provincial politics. And then, of course, when I came back after my provincial politics, I was a police officer first and foremost, always being in the community, do what I could do. President of my police association, always championing causes like the Give a Little Life Day. We always did that and gave back. What's important to me is important to the community, is to be the person who is there to always not be there for themselves. It's for giving back all the time. And that's who I am. And that's how I've always been. And I hopefully will have the honor to still do that as your mayor come November 9th. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Mr. Dion.
This is a long list, so I'm just going to shorten it up. First of all, in my career as the shopping center manager, we were involved in all community events, whether it was the Western Canada hockey tournaments or whether it was the games or whatever. I personally was the vice president of the Raiders for years. I actually was part of the committee that sat on the Victoria Hospital Foundation. I was there for years, and we actually restructured the hospital foundation to make it what it is today. And when I first got on, it used to raise only a couple $100,000 a year, where now it's in the $1 million. So I'm very part of that one. I was heavily involved in tourism. But as mayor, it's no secret, I'm at every event. I believe the mayor must be accessible to everybody in the community, and every level, every age, every culture. So I've been to every kind of Hindu event. I've been to First Nations events. I've been to celebrations. I've been to churches. Wherever the mayor is, I believe the mayor must be accessible to all community members. And I thrive on that. COVID's killed me the last 7 months. I haven't been out and about, and that's just been driving me crazy, because I'm a very social person and I want to be involved in the community, and I'm going to continue that trend in the future.
Thank you, Greg. Well, gentlemen, we're getting close to the end. You will, of course, each have 1 minute to give your summarizing statements about your platforms. Mr. Dion, we'll start with you.
Well, my platform is simple. I am asking people to re-elect me, that we stay the course. We keep repairing our community, which I have a great track record of repairs, right from the water crisis to getting the new water reservoir. So if we ever had the crisis again, that we'd have enough water to survive. And I think the biggest thing that I have to offer is, for 7 years, I've been working on projects, and they're finally coming to fruition, and that's jobs. We already opened the new university. We're going to build a new aquatic center. We have the new hospital coming. We have lots of projects underway. And so I believe that I have the skill, and I've proven the leadership quality. And I just ask people to re-elect me on November the 9th, and let's keep our community moving forward. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Morrow will give you the next response here. 1 minute.
Are we happier, healthier, and safer than we were 4 years ago? If your answer is no, then we need to reevaluate our direction. My priority is to make a difference in your life and the lives of your children. I have a burning passion to apply my education, skills, and knowledge for the betterment of our city, and to serve you to the absolute best of my ability. With your support, there is no problem too big or complex that we cannot solve together. It's okay to want better. It's okay to expect more from our elected officials, and it's okay to recognize that we may have made some mistakes in the past. What's not okay is to allow this to continue without standing up and changing course. This is our family, and this is our city, and I'm ready to support you and your families with an open ear and able mind, and I believe you and I want the same things. We can make tomorrow a better day than today. My name's Josh Morrow, and I will see you and your family at the polling stations on November 9th.
Thank you, Josh. Mr. Nowoselsky, we will go to you next.
Yes, to the chamber members that put this on, to the citizens at large. My position is that I will, if elected as mayor, provide an atmosphere of openness, transparency, accountability, with fiscal responsibility. We'll push to have improved municipal services and infrastructure improvements, get the downtown restored, the infrastructure repaired, and the landscape agreement done so we can get Central Avenue on the road to booming again, and the riverbank, some improvements made there. And I think the key thing here is to re-energize the community that we do it together. And we can. I'm positive, and I've been around for a long time, and I still got the energy and compassion to do it. And I ask for their support on November the 9th. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Mr. Hickey, we conclude with you. Closing remarks. 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Well, it's an honor to be able to run in this campaign as mayor for Prince Albert and for the citizens, along with these other three fine gentlemen. On November the 9th, you have a very tough decision to make. Are you happy with what's been going on in Prince Albert, or do you want to see change? What's important for Prince Albert is, I believe, important in my mind as well, in my campaign. Public safety. We need a healthier community to ensure we can thrive and not just simply survive. Our business community needs the same kind of support and champion from their mayor. So I humbly ask for your support on November the 9th. But don't forget, you have advanced polling starting tomorrow morning as well. And please go vote. People died for the right to have a democracy and for us to have the privilege to vote, have a say. If you don't vote, you can't complain about the person that didn't already get in.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey. And with that, we wrap up the Prince Albert District Chamber of Commerce 2020 Mayoral Forum. Gentlemen, it's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you for joining me for 2 hours here tonight, taking some time away from your busy campaigning and door knocking. Also want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight on the Facebook page and YouTube and submitted your questions. My apologies again if we missed any. Thank you so much for your engagement, and look forward to seeing you voting on November 9th. Just want to remind everybody again, please subscribe to the Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel, like and share their Facebook page as well. No guarantees if you'll get a cool mug, but if you ask nicely and say please, you never know. And Christmas is coming, right, too? Also, just a big thank you again to everybody for tuning in tonight, November 9th. Make sure you cast your ballot. Thank you.